Are you bored of those financial trackers that are basically just to-do apps where you add income, deduct expenses, do some math, and then show it on a chart? It's time for a change. Hi there, and welcome to a first-of-its-kind course where you'll build and deploy a fully functional online banking platform. Horizon, a platform that connects to multiple bank accounts, displays transactions in real time, and even allows you to transfer money to other platform users. With an ultra-secure SSR authentication, a homepage showcasing your balance, connected credit cards, transaction list, and spending categories. A page where you can see a list of all connected banks and the transaction history with filtering. And a payment transfer page where you can make transfers to real bank accounts and even other accounts on your platform. All of this while learning Next.js with server-side rendering, group routes, nested layouts, server actions, and more. Advanced and reusable form management using TypeScript, React Hook Form, and Zod. Plaid for payments, and it'll work no matter where you are in the world. The latest open source Upright features that have been released right this moment. Charts, ShadCN, and Tailwind CSS for a modern, completely mobile responsive UI. And Sentry, monitoring software that analyzes performance and makes our bank more secure. With improved teaching methods through a completely open source codebase you can refer to if you get stuck, a free custom design to know exactly what you're building, and even logical diagrams so you can visualize the application's high-level architecture. And here's a demo to show you precisely what you'll build. At the beginning, you'll see a lengthy sign-up page. Since we're building a real-world app, not a fake one, we need legit information. No placeholders here. Once you sign up, you must link your bank account. This feature is powered by Plaid, a Stripe alternative used by a well-known financial giant, Robinhood, and many others. Test mode is free, no credit card is required, and you can use it anywhere in the world. I'll use some test credentials provided by Plaid, and we're in. On this page, you'll find all the details of your connected bank account, including the name, balance, and transaction list provided by Plaid. On the right side, there's a card, and below that, you'll see different spending categories. On the next page, you can view all your connected banks, balances, and unique public IDs, which you can easily share with others. Moving on, we have the transaction history page with pagination and filtering. But before we dive into transfers, let's connect with another bank account. Just click here and follow the same onboarding process. Let's try a different account, input some test credentials, and boom, a new bank is now listed on the Home and My Banks pages. This change will also be reflected on the Transactions History page, where you can view a list of all transactions for both accounts. Plus, you can also filter and view transactions for each bank separately. Now, let's transfer some funds. Once again, there are many required fields here, just like in a real online bank. We'll also need the recipient's bank ID. So let me grab the bank ID from another account I've created. There we have it. Just input the amount and the details and hit send. Back on the dashboard, you'll notice a new transaction row in the processing state. Like regular banks, it'll take some time to process the transaction. It'll be added to the main bank account balance. I hope you're excited as I am. Not many developers can say they can build a banking system, but you'll be one of those who can. So let's dive right into the code. To get started building our one-of-a-kind banking application, we'll start from bare beginnings by creating a new empty folder on our desktop. Let's call it JSM_banking. And you can drag and drop that empty folder into an empty Visual Studio Code window. Once you're there, you can open up the terminal, and we are ready to get started. In this course, to build this online bank, we'll of course use React, which is the best component library for the web. Of course, we won't use React alone. We'll use Next.js on top of it, the best React framework for the web, used by the world's largest companies, enabling you to create high-quality web applications with the power of React components. And when it comes to the banking functionality, we'll be using Plaid, one of the world's leading banking APIs today, allowing us to turn this app into a real banking application and not just a budget tracker, which you can see in many other YouTube videos. We'll use Plaid's sandbox mode, allowing you to follow along with this video and learn how to implement all of the functionalities in this video. No matter where in the world are you, you'll be able to follow along using the free sandbox account. And when it comes to merging those transactions to our real database, we'll use Upright, It will allow you to build your entire backend within minutes and scale it effortlessly using the completely free open source platform. So everything we're doing is completely open source, from authentication to databases, functions, storage, and more. Appright is becoming one of the go-to open source tools for backend development. So to follow along with this video and see exactly what I'm seeing while developing it, click the special Appright link down in the description, click Get Started, and sign in with GitHub. This will bring you to the dashboard, allowing us to get started using the app. And what would a banking app be without proper charts? So we'll be using the best chart library in the market called Chart.js, which allows you to create any kind of chart you can imagine. So you'll learn how to work with it too. To style our application, we'll of course be using Tailwind CSS, which is a utility-first CSS framework, allowing us to have completely custom styles and have them quickly without having separate CSS files. We'll power up our Tailwind CSS using ShadCN, which is a component library built on top of it, allowing you to have any kind of component you might need in your app, such as simple buttons, alerts, alert dialogues, and more. It is my go-to UI kit nowadays. And of course, our banking app has to be secure. So we're gonna go a step further and teach you how to implement enterprise-level application monitoring software within your application. Specifically, we'll implement session replay, allowing you to get to the root cause of an issue by watching replays of real user sessions within Sentry. And that works even for banking application, because Sentry automatically hides all sensitive data. So, as you can imagine, we'll cover a lot of ground. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea, and let's get started. To initialize our app, we can actually use ShadCN Starter. So let's go to Get Started and Installation, choose Next.js, and then let's copy the initial command. I'm gonna paste it, but instead of my app right here, I will say /. And you can say the same. That will make sure to create it in the current repository. So press Enter and press Y. In this case, we have to answer a couple of questions. We don't need a source directory. We will use the app router. No need to customize the default, and that's it. Next.js is getting initialized. As you can see, React and React DOM, Next.js on top of it. And then we have additional dependencies such as TypeScript. So yes, we will be using TypeScript with this project. If you haven't used it before, don't worry, I'm gonna teach you how to do it. It will simply allow us some additional type safety and make our application that much more secure. We'll also be using Tailwind CSS for styling and even ESLint to make sure that our code base is clean. So overall, this is a big project, a lot of things to cover, but don't worry, I'm gonna take you there step by step. And on the topic of reaching mastery, I just couldn't not mention the Next.js course that we created not that long ago. It has become the best Next.js course on the internet. And a lot of companies are using Next.js, as I've told you at the start. And it's all about understanding how to use Next in a way that it should be used, not just like good old React. And at the start, I was using it like good old React too, but then I noticed that that results in a performance that looks like this. Rather, you want to get to something that looks like this. And within the course, we dive deep into complete understanding of how Next.js works, then build and deploy a complex app, same as you'll do in this video, and then we even have active lessons to test yourself. Because sometimes it's easy to just see me do it, but in the course, I'll actually challenge you with the task, example, resources, and even hints so you actually write some additional code. I just wanted to let you know that if at any point in this video you feel like it's too hard, then it might be a good idea to pause it and postpone it until you complete the ultimate Next.js course. But nonetheless, I'll do my best to explain as much as possible in this course too. So with that in mind, we have created a JSM banking folder, which means that we can follow the second step right here, which is installing ShadCN. So let's simply paste this command and just press enter for all of these. And it will soon enough get initialized. We also need to set up the fonts, which we'll do soon enough. And we also need to set up the Tailwind config, which I'll show you how we can do very soon. Other than that, the way that ChatCN works, if you haven't used it before, is it creates a new folder and adds the code only for the components you actually want to use within your application, which is not the case for many other UI kits, for example, Material UI or Bootstrap. There, you install the whole library and you might not even need it. So let's see how does it work for a single component. We can first copy the installation for the button and then paste it in our terminal. npx ChatCN UI latest add button. It will install the button. And if you go right here in our file explorer, go to components and then UI, you'll notice there's an additional folder here. There's a button component within it. And it does seem like a lot of code for a button, but don't worry, you never have to dive into these files yourself. You can simply use that button later on within your code and then modify it only if you need to. With that in mind, before we run our application, I want to make sure that you have access to the complete Figma file for this entire project. And the link to access it will be down in the description. It is as simple as going there, clicking download, and putting your name and email. As soon as you do that, you'll get access to this Figma file with a complete design. We're going to do everything, starting from the authentication to a detailed dashboard with connected cards, bank accounts, and transactions. And yep, you'll be able to connect multiple bank accounts. And you'll be able to see a complete transaction history for each one of the accounts. But it doesn't stop there. We'll also implement the functionality to transfer money from one Horizon account to another. And by the way, that's the name of our bank, Horizon. So you'll be able to send money between real bank accounts right within our application, just like you can do in a real banking application. Making apps like this needs a lot of careful planning and figuring out exactly how everything should fit together. So even before you start building, you've got to know exactly how it all works and flows step by step. So to help you learn better, I've put together a complete flowchart going through absolutely everything you need to know about how this app works, how the flow works, how the money gets transferred. All of it is laid out neatly in a mind map. And I'll go through it in detail in the video, but if you prefer to study it on your own time, you can click the link in the description and get it for free. Now, hidden within these Figma pages, there's going to be a lot of these little icons or images or styles which we need for development. And for that reason, I went ahead and prepared some assets for you to make our development and learning journey easier. And for that reason, I prepared some simple assets to make our development journey smoother. So first things first, we can delete the favicon and the global CSS from the app, and we can delete the lib folder, as we'll create a new one from scratch. And same thing goes for the public, as well as this Tailwind config. Great. With that in mind, in the description down below, you can find complete assets, which is going to be a zipped folder. So download it from Google Drive. And don't worry if it says that it might have viruses. Google doesn't know what they're talking about. Trust me, there's no viruses there. Download it, unzip it, and then simply paste it into the root of your directory. Within the assets, you'll see that we have the app. So from the app, pull the globals into our original app, and you can then delete it if it's easier for you. Pull the constants outside, lib, public, types, and Tailwind config. Put all of that into the root of your directory, and you can then delete the assets. So let's see what we brought in. Starting from the bottom, we have the Tailwind config. This file has already been there before, but in this case, I have simply added some of the colors which I picked from the Figma design. So you can see the bank gradient, indigo, success colors, and so on. So the next time you want to use this green color, like this one here, you don't have to say something like text dash and then use this very specific 054F31. Rather, you can just say something like text dash success 900. That is the idea of doing this. And if you're wondering how I pulled these values from Figma, Well, let me show you. Back in the Figma file, I think this is that success color. You can click on a specific component, and then on the right side, you can see the corresponding styles. Specifically, if you go under properties. So let's try that one more time. Let's say that I wanted to get to this green background color right here. I would just click multiple times to get to that level. And you can see this background color right here. And then you can just put it here in a way that makes sense for you. On top of that, we also have the types, which will include some of the TypeScript types we'll use throughout this video. For example, the parameters for all of the fields within our auth form. Then we have the public with all of the icons we're going to use, the lib folder with utils, where, to be completely honest, I mostly use some ChatGPT to generate these for me. So for example, we're talking about formatting the date, formatting the amount, parsing the string, or removing special characters. These are mostly functions that we can generate together using ChatGPT later on. On top of that, there are some constants, such as sidebar links. Like in the sidebar, we'll have 5 different routes, and each route has a route, as you can see here, but we also have to add the image and the label to it so it looks good. So I just took some time to create this array for you, as well as some mock data. And finally, there's the globals.css, inside of which we import Tailwind and make some modifications to our base styles, such as hiding the scroll bar, changing the color, and implementing some additional specialized styles, which we cannot easily do with Tailwind. So rather, I just manually target some properties and apply them here, as well as create some special Tailwind styles. So for example, we're going to have many inputs in our application. And I can even show you that if we go to our transfer form. You see how many inputs we have here. It's a lot, and they all have similar styles. So instead of every time saying text 16, placeholder, rounded, border, and so on, we can just create a utility class called input class, and then by using it, it will apply all of the other class names. I'll teach you how to create some utility classes as soon as we use our first one. And that's it. We are just warming up. You will do everything else that will come with this project. And it won't be easy. At times, it will be very hard. But you and I will go through it together. So before we even run our app, let's go to the app and then layout. We want to fix this metadata and import a different font. Alongside inter, we'll also be using IBM _ plex _ serif, coming from Next Font Google. To this inter, next to subsets, we want to give it a variable equal to -- font -inter. And right below, we want to create a second font, const IBM plex serif is equal to, we call this IBM plex serif constructor, and we pass an object with options with subsets of an array of Latin. We also want to do a weight of an array of 400 and 700 as strings. And we want to pass a variable for that font, which is going to be -- font -IBM -plex -serif. Great. We can now change the metadata by giving our app a title, which will be Horizon or Horizon Bank. We can also give it a description, which will be something like Horizon is a modern banking platform for everyone. And we can also give it icons with one icon of /icons /logo.svg. This is now coming from our assets. Next, we have this root layout, which was created for us by Next.js. And we have a body where we're using this inter, but we want to style it in a way that it's going to be a template string where we use the inter.variable. And the second one will be IBM plex serif.variable. This basically allows us to use those fonts across our entire application. Now let's create our homepage. And you could create it like this, where we have a simple page.tsx. But that way, we can only have one single layout. And what is a layout? Well, a layout is specific UI that you can see across multiple pages. For example, notice this sidebar right here, and notice it here. It is shared across pages. And do the auth pages have it? They don't, which means that all of the home pages or root pages will need to have one layout, and the auth pages